They and something to do, the ego's endless relay race. There's a race happening, one you've been running in your whole life without even realizing it. The track is circular, the baton keeps getting passed, and the two teams never stop moving. On one side, we have Team They, the unseen force responsible for everything wrong in our lives. They hurt me. They lied. They are the reason I struggle. They are holding me back. On the other side, we have Team Something to Do, the ceaseless motion of the ego, always searching for the next distraction, the next goal, the next conflict, the next high, the next problem to solve. And so, the race continues. They justifies our suffering. Something to do keeps us from questioning it. But have you ever asked yourself what happens if I stop running? The shadowy they, the ego's favorite scapegoat. Nobody knows exactly who they are. Maybe it's an individual, maybe a group, maybe society, maybe God. It doesn't matter. The point is, the ego needs a they to point to. Because as long as there's a they, I don't have to look at me. They didn't appreciate me, so I can be bitter. They judged me, so I can resent them. They made me do it, so I'm not responsible. But let's get honest, have you ever actually met they? Can you call them up, confront them, fix them? No, because they isn't real. They is the ego's illusion, a convenient placeholder for accountability we refuse to claim, and yet we hand over our peace to they as if our very existence depended on it. But what happens when they disappear? Who's left? United States. We, me, I. That's when we realize why we needed Team Something to Do all along. Something to do, the ego's survival mechanism. The ego is terrified of stillness. It cannot survive in the presence of silence because in the absence of motion, the illusion begins to crack. And so, to avoid that unbearable emptiness it keeps us doing, running marathons we never questioned, climbing mountains we don't even care about, chasing relationships we don't even want, decorating houses we'll barely sit still in, attending events we don't even enjoy. If you ask why, the answer is never satisfying. It always loops back to one thing. I don't know. It's just something to do. And there it is. The reason people start wars. The reason people chase fame. The reason people stay in toxic relationships. The reason people sabotage peace the moment they find it. Because if the ego isn't moving, it's dying. And what could be more terrifying than that? What if you stopped? What if you didn't pass the baton? What if you stopped running the race entirely? What if you didn't chase the next thing to do? What if you just were? For a moment, imagine it. Imagine not reaching for your phone, not planning your next move, not rushing to respond, defend, prove, or justify. Imagine simply being here without the next thing calling you forward. Feels unsettling, doesn't it? That's because the ego is screaming in terror. No, you can't just sit here. You have to do something. You have to fix something. You have to worry. You have to plan. You have to struggle. You have to exist. But that's the lie. You don't. Existence is already happening. Without your effort, without your worry, without your constant motion, you could stop right now, sit completely still, and you would still be as real, as whole, as divine as ever. Because God doesn't need you to move to love you. God doesn't need you to prove yourself to hold you. God doesn't need you to do anything to sustain you. You were already enough before you ever took your first step. The ego's final panic. But who am I without this? If we strip away they, and we strip away something to do, what's left? That's the part the ego doesn't want to find out. Because what's left is the one thing it cannot control. You. Not the you the world has conditioned. Not the you shaped by your traumas. Not the you chasing approval, validation, or success. But the eternal you. The you that doesn't need a they to blame, or a something to do to stay relevant. The you that has always existed in God's mind, whole and perfect, without movement or defense. The you that isn't afraid of stillness. The you that doesn't require an enemy. The you that is not in the race, because the race was never real. So, what now? The next time you feel the urge to blame, they pause. The next time you feel the itch for something to do, wait. Sit still long enough to watch the illusion crumble. And when the dust settles, you will not be lost. You will not be empty. You will not cease to exist. You will simply be what you have always been, whole, loved, and free. Because the truth is, you never needed they, and you never needed something to do. You only ever needed to wake up.